It's One Nation Restorations, and we're restoring another American-made tool with American-made tools. In this video, you're going to learn how to restore this Porter Cable orbital sander by replacing the bearings, adjusting the decals, applying new adhesive, and give it a complete cleaning. You'll know it's time to work on yours when your orbital starts to slow down during sanding. It should run around 10 to 12,000 RPMs, and this one's probably running about half that speed the second it touches wood. Most orbital sanders are similar enough that you could easily follow this video and restore or rebuild your own. A restoration meaning keeping all the original parts, or rebuilding by replacing the key components. The thing to watch out for here is that the bearing retainer and the fan are both cast aluminum, which means they're easier to crack or chip. It also has this foam pad with adhesive, but years of sanding have left the edges flared up, so it's coming off for an upgrade. If you're careful enough to pull it off without ripping it, I'll show you how to restore it and glue it back on like a new one. The problem isn't finding this type of foam, it's getting it cut to the right thickness. It's made to protect the plastic from the spinning disc, and if it's too thick, it'll rub, and if it's too thin, it won't do the job. Our first look under the shroud shows a fan with years of dust and debris. After a good cleaning, this orbital should be much more efficient at collecting dust into the bag assembly. To get the bearing out of the retainer, I use some channel locks, but these things get a bad rep because they have a difficult time removing heavy-duty retaining rings. To help, use a pair of flat needle nose to close the remainder of the gap and it should pop right out. If you have a press, now's the time for it. I can't wait to find one that needs restored so I can add one to the shop. I also protected the outer fan of the edge and any of the screw ports from the pullers by placing some washers between them. If there's one thing I know from years of pulling parts from cars at junkyards, it's that people are never patient enough looking for all the screws holding something together before trying to pry it apart. It's impossible to find good interior panels at a junkyard. Make sure you wait till you find the two inner screws before prying this thing open. Once I pulled the armature out, I could tell that the bearings were both shot. When you flick it around, you can feel them kind of grind and you can also hear them. They were a pain to get out because there wasn't enough gap to get the pullers underneath. I spent about 30 hours a week making these videos on top of my full-time job, which is all time spent away from my family. If you feel like I've earned it, click on the Patreon link in the description below. As the channel continues to grow, so does my gratitude for all the help. This week, I'm launching a Discord server to start a community for those that love restorations or just enjoy my content. Show off your projects, ask the community for help, talk all things restorations, or come get some unseen looks into the shop. And patrons even get special channels like updates throughout the week on projects and videos that I'm working on. So check the description below for more details. Now, I found a local bearing supplier that's cut my lead time down from 1 week to the same day most of the time. Old bearings are hard to find perfect matches for. Most suppliers can link the old model numbers on the bearings to the closest thing that they make now. But just in case, you need to measure the outer diameter, inner diameter, and the thickness before calling for that replacement because their systems aren't perfect. For this project, I had to return the small bearing for the armature because the inner diameter was 1 millimeter too small, and it was the difference between going on and not. I used some Dawn here on the plastic parts and a soft toothbrush with some Q-tips. I was careful not to put too much pressure on the plastic because I was afraid of breaking the small slot. Porter Cable started back in 1906, and by 1910 they were manufacturing pencil sharpeners, tire pumps, and gas lamps. By 1926, their machine revolution had started with the introduction of their portable belt sander, followed by their circular saw, bandsaw, and orbital sander. In 1960, they were bought by Rockwell and have since been acquired and consolidated several times, with almost all of their tools being manufactured outside of the United States now. On the fan, I used a pick to get into the grooves, followed by Dawn Soak Q-tips to get into the hard-to-reach places. Once I had the bulk of it out, I did a hard reset with the brush, and I went through each of the grooves again with a pick to finish. The shaft of the bearing had some old grease on it, so I used a 2500 grit sandpaper and water to remove it. The back of the fan was in similar condition with some kind of stain, but the 2500 took it right off. I tried not to leave any straight line scratches since it wasn't getting a trip to the buffing wheel. Keep in mind that it took 2 small strips and about 10 minutes for these results, and no one's ever gonna see it. I really lucked out on the body for this project. The 2 O-rings have done a pretty good job of keeping the debris from getting into the field and the armature. After a couple shots from the air gun with about 80 PSI, I hit the corners and anything that didn't blow out with a pick. The decal on the top of the body is no longer where it was from the factory. To move it back to the right location, apply some heat to the area. Once it's hot enough, slide the decal or the sticker back to the original location. You don't want to melt the plastic or ruin the image on the decal. It took about 5 minutes at around 5 inches away. Proudly saved. The old adhesive on the shroud pieces needs to be removed before reapplying the padding. I used Goo Gone here and it was literally gone with minimal effort. I used Dawn to remove the dust on the padding and Goo Gone to remove the old adhesive there too. The clear backing from the original strip is still there. You can remove yours with some heat, but I'm going to leave this here and reapply a new layer to get it to stick. In all, we were able to save everything except for the 3-ball bearings, which are one-time use parts. Dodged a bullet on the $130 armature. The bearing on the top of the armature was the first thing to go back on. When you seat it, stop once you get flush to the top of the shaft. On the other side of the armature, install the fan so that the top of it is flush with the large ridge on the shaft. The shaft balancer needs enough gap between the bearings so that it clears the housing. If it's too close, it'll rub on the plastic and the armature won't be able to turn. You'll know as soon as you install it into the body because it should be easy to turn by hand. Install the O-ring and slide the armature back into the field. Make sure to install the assembly into the housing side that has the ports for the brushes and the springs. The brushes are concave, so make sure you line them up correctly. The housing has grooves for the electrical wires to snap into. The main cord had grooves in it to help it align properly. When attempting to close the housing, you shouldn't have any real resistance to it. After you get the 4 main body screws in, it isn't a bad idea to test it out to make sure you don't have to go back in. Install the large O-ring for the dust prevention and then slide the fan back into the groove slot on the shaft. Install the bearing into the retainer and press it all the way down. It's the only one of the 3 that has to go all the way. Install the retaining ring. Here I'm helping the channel locks again close all the way up. Slide the retainer back onto the shaft and insert each side of the shroud. Be careful not to pinch the O-ring. Once you get it over the fan and onto the body, rotate the shroud and line up the seams. Here I'm applying liquid fashion tape, which is a roll-on adhesive. Apply a thin coat on the entire pad and let it sit for about 30 seconds to become tacky. Line it up on the shroud and then firmly press it into place. I'll leave updates in the description at 1 month, 6 months, and time of failure for this product. My initial thoughts and impressions of this are excellent. You'll be hard-pressed to make one of these or find it, so take your time and remove it carefully. We're picking up momentum as we round the corner and set our sights on 1,000 subs. In the coming weeks, we'll be doing restorations with tutorials on powder coating, riveting, and nickel plating. Make sure you don't miss a beat by subscribing and hitting that bell notification. We replaced the bearings, adjusted the decal, applied some new adhesive, and gave this tool a much needed deep clean. The only thing left to do is see if it's back up to running over 10,000 RPMs again. I sand the workbench and restain it after every project to help the next one pop in the video. I haven't been able to do it for the last couple weeks because the bearings have been so bad, so let's prepare for next week. I started with a 120 grit, moved to a 180, and finished with a 220. From there, I like to put 1 coat of golden oak down for about 10 minutes. This project took 10 hours to complete. The longest part was cleaning up all the old dust from years of sanding. My favorite part was finally getting to see that Made in the USA sticker lined back up. This restoration cost $23 for all the bearings. We restored another American-made tool with American-made tools. See you in Discord.